Billionaire CEO challenged her to slap him in front of everyone. But when she did, he fell madly in love. The entire ballroom froze, not because of the music, not because of the cameras, but because Aria, a woman no one in that room took seriously, just slapped the most powerful man in the city across the face. And the moment her hand hit his cheek, he didn't get angry. He fell in love. Before we continue, if you enjoy touching and inspiring stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Now, let's get back to the story. The chandelier above them sparkled like a sky full of stars. But the air in the grand ballroom was thick with tension. Laughter faded. Champagne flutes stilled mid-air. Every eye turned toward the center of the room, where two people stood locked in a moment that could burn the world down or change it forever. Sebastian Drake, 32, billionaire. Untouchable, unreadable. Leaned in slowly, his bold blue suit casting sharp lines against the black marble floor. He didn't blink, didn't flinch. His voice, smooth as silk and sharp as a knife, cut through the silence. "If you really have the courage, Aria, slap me. Do it now, in front of everyone." Gasps echoed. Aria Whitfield felt her heart thudding so hard it echoed in her ears. Her red dress shimmered under the lights, a bold splash of color against the dark sea of tuxedos and gowns. Her green eyes met his, defiant but trembling. The room was full of people who mattered: investors, journalists, celebrities, CEOs. One wrong move could cost her everything, and Sebastian knew that. That's why he dared her. He wanted her to fold, to walk away, to prove she wasn't different, just another name in a long list of people too afraid to stand up to him. But he didn't know Aria. She inhaled, slow, shaky, and then, without a word, raised her hand. Time didn't slow down. It shattered. Her palm struck his cheek with a sharp crack that froze the entire ballroom. His head turned slightly, a red mark blooming where her hand had landed. And then something shifted in his eyes. It wasn't anger, not pride, not revenge. It was something else. A flicker, a spark, as if for the first time in years, someone had reached him. Aria stepped back, her breath short, her hand still tingling. Her voice, when it came, was soft but clear. "You don't get to humiliate people for fun, Mr. Drake. Not me, not anyone." And then she turned and walked away. Cameras clicked, people whispered, but no one dared follow her, not even him, not yet. 2 hours earlier, Aria had been holding a tray of canapes in the service hallway of the Drake Global building, just another event hostess in a borrowed red dress and aching heels. She hadn't planned to be the center of anything tonight. She was only here to help her roommate cover a shift. Rent was overdue. Her part-time gig at the local gallery barely kept the lights on. "Just pass the appetizers, smile, and disappear," Chloe had said. "They won't even notice you." But someone had noticed her, and not just anyone. Sebastian Drake. Sebastian. It started with a glance, then a smirk. Then, suddenly, he was asking for a private word in front of everyone. She thought it was a mistake, that he confused her with someone else. But it wasn't a mistake. He knew exactly who she was. Aria Whitfield, graduated top of her class, declined a job offer from Drake Global 2 years ago, runs art programs for at-risk youth, and moonlights as a server on weekends. Fascinating resume. She'd blinked, stunned. "Why are you—" "You slapped my executive's proposal last month in that public grant forum," he said, still smiling. "Called it exploitative. You embarrassed us. I don't like being embarrassed." "So what? You're here to make a scene?" "No, I'm here to test something." He leaned closer. "I want to see if the fire in you is real or just performance. If it's real, prove it." And that's when he said it. "Slap me." The room hushed. The power games began. Now, back in the service hallway, Aria gripped the sink edge in the staff bathroom, her reflection shaking. She couldn't believe what she'd just done. She didn't regret it, not really. But she was scared. She'd humiliated one of the most powerful men in the country. There would be consequences. She didn't know what yet. But they were coming. Behind her, the bathroom door creaked open. She turned quickly, ready to face security, or worse. But it was Chloe, pale, wide-eyed, and nearly breathless. "Aria, what did you do?" "You slapped Sebastian Drake." "He told me to," Aria replied, still dazed. "People tell billionaires lots of things. You don't actually do them." Aria rubbed her arms. "I couldn't let him win like that. He was trying to break me in front of everyone." Chloe dropped her voice. "Well, he didn't look broken. If anything, he looked like, I don't know, like he just saw an angel punch him in the face." Aria couldn't help it. She laughed, a single breath sharp and ironic. But the relief was short-lived, because moments later, someone else entered the hallway, Sebastian. The air shifted with him. He didn't knock. He didn't ask permission. He stepped into the doorway, hands in his pockets, head tilted, eyes locked on hers through the mirror. Her pulse spiked, and she hated it. Hated that her chest tightened, not from fear, but from something far more reckless. For a long second he didn't speak. Then, quietly, "Can we talk?" Aria turned, folding her arms as if to steady herself. "Why? So you can humiliate me again?" "No." His voice was lower now, more deliberate. "Because I'm not used to being wrong." "And I think I was, about you." Chloe blinked, glancing between them. "I'll leave." And then it was just the two of them, alone, again. "What do you want from me?" Aria asked. "Coffee." The word landed heavier than it should. She narrowed her eyes. "You want me to pour you coffee now?" He chuckled, a faint edge breaking through his composure. "No, I want to take you out. Coffee, tomorrow morning. No assistance, no press, just a conversation." "Are you serious?" "Painfully." "Why?" Sebastian took a step closer, his tone shifting, deeper, softer. "I've built empires and made people tremble, but you looked me in the eye and made me feel something." Aria froze. It wasn't a pickup line. It was raw, real. But she wasn't ready to let her guard down. "I haven't said yes." "I know, but you will." He turned and walked away without waiting for a reply. The echo of his footsteps lingered long after he was gone, along with the heat in her chest she didn't want to name. And despite herself, Aria realized one thing: her life had just changed. And whatever game Sebastian Drake thought he was playing, he wasn't the one holding the rules anymore. Sleep didn't come easy that night. Aria lay awake, staring at the ceiling of her tiny apartment, her phone lighting up every few minutes with new notifications. Her name was trending. The video had already hit millions of views. The slap, the billionaire, the red dress. Everyone had seen it. Some called her a hero. Others said she'd ruined her future. Chloe paced the living room in her pajamas, biting her thumbnail. "You know this could go two ways, right? He could sue you, or he could marry you. Honestly, neither would surprise me." Aria pulled a blanket up to her chin. "I'm not doing this for attention." "I know that," Chloe said, sitting beside her. "But the world doesn't, and he definitely doesn't." That last part echoed in Aria's mind. Sebastian Drake. Powerful, calculated, too good-looking for his own good, or hers. And now, for some reason, he wanted to have coffee with her. She hated that part of her wanted to say yes. The next morning, Aria stood outside a quiet cafe in the Arts District, hands buried in the pockets of her coat. She almost hadn't come. She told herself it was just to hear what he had to say. Nothing more. The cafe door opened. He was already there. Seated at a small table by the window, suit jacket off, shirt sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked like a completely different person in this setting. Less untouchable, more human. He stood as she walked in. "You came?" 10 minutes late. I almost didn't." "But you did." Arya slid into the chair opposite him, arms crossed as if to shield herself, but his eyes, steady, intent, made it hard to hold that pose. "You're trending worldwide. Was that the plan all along?" "I didn't know anyone was filming." "And I don't care about the publicity," she said. "I care about people like me getting steamrolled by men like you." Sebastian didn't argue. Instead, he quietly pushed a cup of coffee toward her, black just how she liked it. She didn't ask how he knew, but the way his gaze stayed on her made her stomach tighten. He sipped his coffee, eyes distant. "When I was 16, my father dragged me into a board meeting. I watched grown men beg while he smiled. I swore I'd never be that weak." Arya leaned back. "And what did it cost you?" He gave a faint laugh. "Maybe everything." Then his tone shifted, softer. "What do you actually want to do, Arya, with your life, if rent wasn't a problem?" The question caught her off guard. Her lips parted, but no words came at first. "I already am doing it. The gallery, the community programs, giving kids a chance to believe in themselves before the world tells them they don't matter." Sebastian didn't interrupt. He just listened, really listened. The longer his gaze stayed on her, the harder it became to ignore the warmth rising in her cheeks. There was silence between them, weighted but not uncomfortable. Then he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a white envelope. He set it on the table, but instead of pushing it away quickly, his hand lingered. His fingers brushed hers as he slid it forward, deliberate or not. For a moment, the air felt heavier than money could explain. "Open it?" She hesitated, then unfolded the flap. Inside was a check, $50,000, made out to Whitfield Arts Initiative. She stared at it, heart pounding. "What is this?" "It's not hush money. It's not a trap. It's just an offer. No strings." "There are always strings with you." "Maybe there were," he admitted. "Before yesterday." Arya studied his face. For the first time, it wasn't unreadable. There was something almost lost beneath all that polish and pride. A flicker of someone who used to feel things deeply, maybe even still did. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I haven't felt truly seen in years," he said quietly. "Until you." Something in her chest tightened. She stood, check still in hand. "I need time." "Take it." She walked out of the cafe, the cool morning air rushing against her face. Her heart was racing, not from anger this time, but from confusion. She wasn't supposed to like him. He was everything she fought against. And yet something about him, something buried deep under all that arrogance, made her want to look again. She looked down at the check in her hand. $50,000 could change lives. But it could also cost her soul. She didn't realize someone had followed her out, until a voice behind her broke the stillness. "Careful who you trust with that kind of power. Ask yourself why he made sure it was filmed." Her breath caught. "You're lying." "I hope I am." He tipped his head, turned, and disappeared into the crowd. Arya stood frozen, her grip tightening around the check. Back inside the cafe, Sebastian sat calmly, sipping his coffee. But when he looked out the window, he wasn't smiling anymore. He'd seen the man in the gray coat, too. And from the way his jaw clenched, Arya realized something. Sebastian Drake had secrets, and she might have just stepped into something far more complicated than pride and power. Something personal, something dangerous. The check sat untouched on Arya's kitchen table, its numbers burning into her thoughts like a brand. $50,000, enough to keep the community center open for another year. Enough to fund new classes, supplies, even therapy sessions for kids who had no one else. But she couldn't stop thinking about that man. His warning echoed in her head. You might want to ask why he really had someone filming it. She hadn't even considered it. Not once. The whole thing had felt too spontaneous, too raw to be planned. But now, doubt crawled in like smoke through a crack in the wall. Aria stared at the check again. Did it mean something? Or everything? Chloe entered the room, half awake and clutching a coffee mug. "You haven't moved since last night. That check's not going to bite." "It might," Aria murmured. "You okay?" Aria hesitated. Then, finally, "Someone approached me after the meeting with Sebastian. Said he used to be close to him. Warned me that the whole slap thing might have been set up." "Wait, set up by him? Why would he risk public humiliation?" "Because maybe it wasn't humiliation, maybe it was a power move. A way to control the narrative, twist public sympathy, turn me into some redemption arc for him." Chloe sat down, serious now. "And you think this guy was telling the truth?" "I don't know, but I need to find out." By mid-afternoon, Aria was standing in front of the glossy glass doors of Drake Global. The receptionist blinked as if surprised to see her again so soon. "Mr. Drake isn't taking appointments today." "Then tell him Aria Whitfield's here, and I'm not leaving." The woman hesitated, then picked up the phone and spoke in a low voice. After a few tense seconds, she looked up. "He'll see you. He'll see." Top floor. The elevator ride felt longer than it was. As the numbers climbed, so did her pulse. This time, she wasn't just facing a billionaire. She was facing possibility that she'd been played, that this man who made her feel something real had calculated every moment. His office door opened before she could knock. Sebastian stood by the window, the city skyline sprawling behind him. His suit today was charcoal gray, crisp as ever, but his expression was unreadable. "Didn't expect to see you so soon." "I have questions." "I figured." He motioned for her to come in. She stayed standing. Was the slap filmed on purpose? He met her eyes immediately. No dodge. No delay. "Yes." The word hit harder than she expected. "So, it was a stunt." "No," he said calmly. "It was a contingency. My team records most of my public appearances. I didn't ask them to post it. That wasn't my plan." "But you knew it was being recorded. And you still goaded me into doing it." "Because I didn't think you actually would," he admitted. "I thought you'd walk away, that you'd crumble like the others." Aria crossed her arms. "And when I didn't," he stepped closer, voice lower now. "When you didn't, I realized I'd underestimated you. Completely." "So what now? You turn me into some symbol for your corporate soul makeover?" "That's not what this is." "Aria." She looked down at the check still tucked in her purse. "Then why offer me that money?" "Because I believe in what you're doing, and maybe I needed to prove to myself, not you, that I could be more than what I've been." She didn't respond right away, because part of her wanted to believe him. Desperately, but that voice in her mind, the stranger in the gray coat, wouldn't go quiet. "Do you know someone who wears a gray coat, older, maybe late 40s? Said he used to be you." Sebastian's jaw tensed. A flicker of something passed over his face. Not surprise, recognition. "You saw him? You know who I'm talking about." He turned away, back toward the skyline. "His name is Elliot Vance." "Who is he?" "My mother's ex-fiancé. He helped raise me. Used to be a VP here, until he wasn't." "What happened?" Sebastian's voice turned cold. "He stole from the company, manipulated deals, took advantage of employees. When I confronted him, he spun lies and tried to drag my name down with his. I fired him, quietly." Aria tried to read his face, but Sebastian wasn't giving anything else away. "So why is he warning me now?" "Because he hates that I became everything he failed to be." Aria's head was spinning. Two versions of the truth, each believable, each with cracks. "I don't know who to believe." "You shouldn't trust either of us," Sebastian said, his voice surprisingly soft. "You barely know me, but you can decide who earns that trust. That's different." She watched him carefully. "Why are you being honest now?" "Because I don't want this, us, whatever this is, to start with another lie." The air between them was thick again, but this time it wasn't with tension. It was something else, a charge, a closeness neither of them expected. Sebastian took a careful step forward. "You scare me a little, Arya." "Good." They both smiled, small, reluctant, but it broke the ice. She turned toward the door. "I'm keeping the check, for the kids, but that doesn't mean I trust you." "That's fair. If you want to prove something, start by showing up. No cameras, no speeches, just be there." "Where?" She paused. "We're painting a mural this weekend. Community wall, 3 blocks from the gallery. Sunrise." He nodded once. "I'll be there." And for the first time, Arya wondered if maybe, just maybe, this wasn't about winning or losing. Maybe it was about seeing who each of them could become when the masks finally came off. But across the city, in a quiet apartment overlooking the river, Elliot Vance poured himself a glass of whiskey and watched the viral video for the 10th time. He zoomed in, paused, studied Arya's face, then Sebastian's, and whispered to no one, "You're getting sloppy, Sebastian." He picked up a photo frame from the shelf. Inside was a picture, Sebastian, much younger, standing next to Elliot, both smiling. Elliot set the glass down and made a call. "It's time. We move forward with the plan." The sun hadn't even risen when Arya arrived at the corner lot. The community wall, once covered in peeling paint and meaningless graffiti, stood like a canvas waiting to breathe again. The paint waited. The kids hadn't arrived yet. She liked being early. The quiet helped her think, and today she needed that more than ever. She hadn't slept. His words kept replaying in her head. Would he really come? A small voice said no. Another hoped yes. Then, footsteps, sharp, steady. She turned. Sebastian Drake. Not the billionaire in a suit, just a man in jeans, sneakers, a hoodie under a denim jacket. No assistants, no entourage, just him. "Morning," he said. "You came." "You said sunrise." He looked at the wall. "So, where do we start?" "With patience," Arya replied, handing him a roller. Soon, the lot came to life with kids sketching in chalk. They adored Arya. Sebastian said little, but he watched everything, especially Jaden, who struggled to focus. Most people ignored him, not Arya. She crouched, helped him picture his ideas, encouraged without pressure. Sebastian stood quietly behind them, listening. After a while he joined in, kneeling beside a girl named Lila, dipping his brush into bright orange paint. "What's this supposed to be?" he asked. "It's a phoenix," she said proudly. "That's a big bird." "It's not just a bird, it rises from fire." He paused, staring at the flame-colored wings. "That's a good thing to remember." Arya crossed her arms. "Didn't think you'd last an hour." "I surprise people." "That's not always a good thing." He looked up. A streak of orange paint cut across his cheek, softening every sharp edge. For a heartbeat, she almost laughed. The smudge made him look less like a billionaire, more like someone she could almost trust. Almost. He caught the flicker of her smile and held it, as if it were rare. "You ever stop expecting the worst in people?" "Only when they stop giving me reasons not to." He didn't argue. They worked on in silence. No cameras, just brushes, kids, and color. By noon, the mural was alive with color. "You ever wonder what would have happened if you'd taken that job offer?" Sebastian asked. "You mean the one from your company?" "Yeah." She looked at the mural. "I'd probably be in a corner office somewhere, wondering why I felt empty, and I'd never have met you." The mural was finished by sunset. Bright wings of phoenixes stretched across the wall, flames rising beside flowers and stars drawn by small hands with big dreams. The kids were laughing, messy with paint, chasing each other across the lot as music played softly from a nearby speaker. And Arya? She stood back and watched it all, while her thoughts raced in circles. Elliot's voice still echoed in her ears. "Look deeper, Arya. Look at his past." She hated how those words had stuck. Worse, she hated that a part of her wanted to believe him, not because she trusted Elliot, but because she feared he might be right. Sebastian was leaning against the fence, arms crossed, watching Jaden trace his name in the corner of the wall with a tiny brush. He smiled, proud but distant, as if something inside him was still far away. Arya walked up beside him. "You know you made that kid's year, right?" "I didn't do much." "You showed up. That's more than most do." He didn't respond immediately. Then, "I like this. Today." "You say that like it surprised you." "It did." She looked up at him. "You're hard to figure out." "Good," he said. "That keeps things interesting." "Or dangerous." He met her gaze, more serious now. "Is that what I am to you?" She didn't answer because honestly, she wasn't sure. That night, she sat on her bed with her laptop open and her heart pounding. She had typed the same phrase 5 times into the search bar. Sebastian Drake, early years, Drake global controversy, Elliot Vance resignation, internal scandal. Most articles were clean, polished, controlled, nothing obvious. Nothing scandalous, until she found a single blog post, dated 3 years back, unverified, anonymous. A silent war inside Drake Global, whistleblowers, cover-ups, and the man who vanished with the truth. It claimed Elliot Vance was forced out after threatening to expose misconduct at the top. It didn't say what kind. It didn't name Sebastian directly, but the timing matched, and there, buried in the comment section, was one chilling line. "He's charming, he's brilliant, but never forget, Sebastian Drake knows how to bury things." Arya closed the laptop. Something in her gut twisted. She picked up her phone. Hesitated, then typed, "We need to talk, tomorrow, no distractions." She hit send. A reply came almost instantly. "I was hoping you'd say that. My place?" "No." "Neutral ground. The park, 9 a.m. The next morning the park was quiet. Dew clung to the grass. Joggers passed by. An old couple walked their dog near the fountain. But the world felt still. Arya sat on a bench beneath a willow tree, sipping lukewarm coffee. Sebastian arrived 5 minutes early, no suit, no smile. Just dark jeans, a black turtleneck, and a tired expression that didn't belong to a billionaire, but to someone carrying something heavier than money. He sat beside her. "Something's bothering you." "A few things." He waited. She turned to him. "I want to ask you something, and I need the truth. No charm, no games." "Okay." "What happened with Elliot, really?" Sebastian exhaled slowly. "I already told you." "Not all of it." Silence stretched. Then, finally, he spoke. "He was the first person who believed in me. When I was 16, he convinced my mother to send me to business school instead of architecture. He got me my first job in this company. He mentored me, trusted me." "So what changed?" "He started using company resources for private deals. I found out by accident. I confronted him, told him to stop. Instead, he made it worse." "Why didn't you expose him publicly?" "Because it would have destroyed the company's reputation, and because I still cared about him. I thought if I let him walk away quietly, he'd disappear. But he didn't. No. He's been trying to ruin me ever since." Arya studied his face, searching for cracks. He looked sincere. But sincerity came easy to people like him. That was the problem. "I found something online," she said. "A blog, anonymous, said you know how to bury things." Sebastian looked away, jaw tightening. "Do you?" "I've done what I had to. Sometimes protecting something means carrying a weight no one else sees." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have right now." They sat in silence again, not angry, not cold, just conflicted. Finally she spoke. "I want to believe you, Sebastian, then do. But if I find out you're lying to me, even once—" "You won't," he said. Cutting in, "Because I can't afford to lose you." She turned to him. His voice had cracked just slightly. For a man who never let his guard down, That one line shattered something. She felt it, and so did he. And when he leaned closer, his hand brushing hers on the bench, she didn't pull away. Later that night, back in her apartment, Aria stood at the window staring at the city lights. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "You made your choice, didn't you?" It was Elliot. "I don't owe you anything." "No, but you'll regret giving him everything. If you know something, tell me." "All of it, or don't call me again." There was a pause. Then Elliot's voice dropped, calm and dangerous. "He's building something behind your back, something that could wipe out everyone involved with your program." Aria's heart skipped. "What are you talking about? You think he's changing? He's not. He's repackaging, and you're the ribbon he's tying around it. You're lying." "Then ask him what the name Project Phoenix means to him." The line went dead. She stood frozen, phone still at her ear, the mural from yesterday flashing in her mind. A phoenix, burned, reborn, rising from ashes. Was it just a coincidence? Or something much more dangerous than she imagined? Aria stared at her reflection in the elevator mirror, her heart pounding harder with every passing floor. Project Phoenix. She'd repeated the words in her head all night, trying to make sense of them. She hadn't found anything online, no leaked documents, no public filings, no interviews. It was like the project didn't exist, but Elliot knew about it, and somehow it was tied to her. She didn't text Sebastian this time. She didn't warn him she was coming. She needed answers, not rehearsed explanations. The elevator doors opened to the top floor of Drake Global. Sebastian's assistant looked up, surprised. "Miss Whitfield." Aria walked past her, straight into Sebastian's office. He was standing by the window again, his phone to his ear. But when he saw her, he ended the call mid-sentence. "Aria? What's Project Phoenix?" The question landed like thunder. For the first time since she met him, Sebastian didn't answer immediately. His face didn't move. But something in his eyes changed. A flash of recognition. Then guilt. "Who told you about that?" "Answer the question." He stepped forward, his voice low. "It's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is." "Because Elliot made it sound like you're building something that could destroy everything I've worked for." "Of course he did. He's manipulating you." "Sebastian," she said it quietly, firmly, and that one word shut him up. For a long second he looked at her, not as the woman who challenged him, or the one he was slowly falling for, but as someone he feared losing. Project Phoenix is about rebuilding forgotten neighborhoods, restoring, modernizing, gentrifying them. Not like that. Then how? He walked over to his desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a file. Thick, confidential. He handed it to her. See for yourself." She opened it with shaky fingers. Inside were maps, zoning documents, funding proposals, legal permits. One neighborhood stood out on every page, the same one where her community center sat. Her stomach turned. "You're planning to buy up the entire block, not to destroy it, to rebuild it. Better housing, safer parks, better schools. And what happens to the people who already live there? They stay, that's the point. How do you guarantee that? By putting their names on the deeds, giving them ownership, real ownership." She stared at him. "And why didn't you tell me this?" "Because I didn't want to give Elliot ammunition to twist it." "But he did." "Because you hid it." He didn't argue, didn't defend himself. He just stood there, waiting. Aria closed the folder and held it to her chest. "You should have trusted me." "I wanted to." "Then why didn't you?" "Because I've never had anyone in my life I could." The room went quiet. No defense, just vulnerability. Real, raw, dangerous. Aria lowered the file slowly, her expression softening despite herself. "You think this project can actually help people?" "I think it's a start." "Then make it public, all of it. Show them you're not hiding." He blinked. You're serious? If it's as noble as you say, you shouldn't be afraid to show the world. Sebastian nodded. Slowly. Okay, I'll do it. And you'll protect the center. Not just protect it, he said. I'll make it the centerpiece. Her breath caught. For a brief moment, the weight between them eased. The silence shifted from confrontation to something else entirely. Sebastian stepped closer. You have no idea what it's like having someone keep me honest. She held his gaze. I'm not here to protect you. I'm here to protect what matters. I know. That's why I keep wanting you closer. She should have stepped back, but she didn't, and when his hand brushed hers, slow and unsure, she let it happen. When he leaned in, tentative, careful, she didn't stop him. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't staged. Just the soft collision of two people who should have walked away, but didn't. The kiss was quiet, unsteady, yet it carried more truth than anything they had spoken all night. When they finally pulled apart, her breath trembled against his. For a moment, the world around them seemed to hold still. He leaned close, his lips brushing her hair, his voice barely a whisper. You're the first person I don't want to lose. And for the first time, she let herself believe him. That night, Arya returned to her apartment with a copy of the Phoenix file and a knot of emotion she couldn't untangle. She set the file on the table and went to shower. By the time she returned, the file was still untouched, but her door was ajar. She froze. Her phone vibrated on the counter. Blocked number. One message. You think he's telling the whole truth? Check the original blueprints. Look for the building on 6th and Morrow. Then decide who you believe. Arya's fingers trembled as she typed the address into her browser. What she found wasn't in the Phoenix file. It wasn't a school or a housing complex. It was a private security data center, listed under a shell corporation, linked back to Drake Global, hidden, unannounced, buried, and marked for construction next year. Exactly where her friend's youth shelter now stood. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. Still think he's building this for the people. The morning felt colder than it should have. Arya stood at the corner of 6th and Morrow, arms folded, wind tugging at her jacket. The building in front of her was quiet. Plain, faded brick with a green metal sign above the door, Harbor Youth Shelter. She'd been here before, more than once. Her friend Camille ran it with love and sweat and sleepless nights. It wasn't glamorous, but it saved lives. Kids found beds here when they had nowhere else. Food, safety, a voice that listened. And according to the blueprint in her hands, it was scheduled for demolition. Arya's breath fogged in the air as she looked down at the plans again. Phase 2, site clearance, 6th and Morrow, redevelopment for private security substation, not housing, not parks, not schools, security. She didn't want to believe it. But the papers were clear, hidden under legal language and corporate shells, but clear. And Sebastian had said nothing about this. The file he gave her had skipped Phase 2 entirely. Omitted, erased, intentionally. Her chest tightened, not from anger, from betrayal. Back at the gallery, Arya paced between half-finished canvases and drying clay sculptures. The blueprints clutched in her hand. Camille walked in holding 2 coffees, her short curls frizzy from the wind. I saw your name trending again this morning. You're officially the people's champion. Don't believe everything you read. Camille handed her the coffee, eyes narrowing. Okay, what happened? Arya hesitated. Then told her everything, from the mural to Project Phoenix, from the kiss to the blueprints, from Elliot's warning to the site on Morrow. Camille listened without interrupting, the way she always did. When Arya finally fell silent, Camille shook her head. That shelter's protected. We were promised 5 more years. We're federally registered. Then why is it marked for clearance next year? Camille set her coffee down hard. I don't know, but I'm going to find out. I don't want to panic yet. This isn't panic, Arya. This is war if it's real. Arya sat down, hands buried in her hair. I don't know who to believe anymore. I want to trust Sebastian, but I've been lied to before. Camille's voice softened. The question isn't just whether he lied, it's why he left it out. Arya looked up. That was it. Why? Was it oversight or something worse? That evening, she texted Sebastian. I need to talk. Privately. No office, no suits. Name the place. My rooftop. 9 p.m. Come alone. He didn't reply. But at 9 sharp, she heard the creak of the rooftop door. Sebastian stepped into the soft glow of string lights, wearing a dark sweater and jeans, no jacket. His hair was messier than usual, his face more open. You said rooftop. I assumed that meant truth. Let's hope. She didn't smile. He noticed. What's going on? She didn't answer at first, just handed him the printout. The blueprint, marked, signed, stamped. He took it, read it, and for the first time, he looked shaken. Where did you get this? Buried behind shell companies linked to Drake Global. I cross-checked. It's real. He looked down again. Didn't deny it, didn't try to spin it, just stood there. You knew? Not like this. Don't lie to me. He looked at her. Really looked. I swear to you, Arya, when I gave you the file that wasn't in it because I hadn't seen it. How is that possible? You're the CEO. Because not everything passes through me anymore. I delegate. I trust people to handle phases, legal teams, logistics, zoning consultants. You trusted someone to cover up the demolition of a shelter for a private security facility? No, I didn't know. And when I find out who hid this from me, I will fire them, on the spot. She studied him. Every line of his face, every twitch of his mouth, it felt true, but it also felt convenient. Then prove it, she said. How? Pull the plug on that part of the project. Today, publicly? Sebastian didn't hesitate. Done. You'll need to rezone, repermit, fight legal battles. Then I'll fight them. Why? To save your reputation? To save you from ever thinking I'm like him? That hit deep. Arya turned away, staring out over the glowing city. Sebastian, I want to believe you. I really do. But you live in a world where the truth bends to whatever protects the empire. He walked toward her. Then help me build a different kind of empire. She looked at him. The pain in her eyes was heavier now. I can't be your redemption story. You're not. You're the reason I want one. Silence, heavy, still. Then, gently, she leaned into him, just enough to feel his warmth. Not a promise, not forgiveness, but something in between. One more lie, she whispered. And I walk, for good. Then I'll make sure you never have to. But 3 floors below, in the alley behind her apartment, a car sat parked with its lights off. Inside, Elliot Vance watched through a long-lens camera, his finger tightening around the shutter button. Click, click. Another photo of Sebastian, holding Arya on the rooftop. Next to him, a man in a suit checked his phone. Sir, she's seen the blueprints. If she keeps digging, she won't. And if she does? Elliot's eyes didn't leave the lens. Then we release the insurance file, and everything burns down. Even her, especially her. The storm didn't begin with thunder. It began with a click. One single email. No subject, no sender. Just one attachment. Insurance, Trafile Arya, had been in the middle of a meeting with her gallery's program directors when her phone buzzed. She nearly ignored it. But something about the file name pulled her in. She stepped out of the room without a word and opened the email. Inside the file, bolded at the top, were 5 chilling words. You wanted the truth. Here it is. Then came the details. 10 years ago. Westbrook District. A redevelopment project. A fire. 3 buildings destroyed, 2 lives lost. And a discreet settlement made to the victims' families. Pushed through by a holding company directly tied to Drake Global. Sebastian hadn't been CEO yet, but his name was there, signed, approved, sealed. Arya read it once, then again, and a third time. Slower. Her fingers turned cold, her chest tightened, her trust cracked right down the middle. Chloe found her sitting on the hallway floor, her phone lying next to her, like it had delivered a death sentence. "Arya? What happened?" Arya didn't answer. Chloe picked up the phone, brows furrowing as she read the document. "Oh my God. He said he never lied to me." Chloe knelt beside her. "Arya, this is serious, but it was 10 years ago. Maybe he didn't understand what he was signing. His signature is there. He authorized it. Then talk to him. Ask. If he lies, then you'll know." Arya nodded slowly. She needed to hear the truth. From him. That evening, Arya showed up at Sebastian's apartment unannounced. He opened the door, looking relaxed, until he saw her face. "What happened?" She stepped inside. Silent. She was holding her phone. "Someone sent me a file." "What kind of file?" "From Westbrook, 10 years ago." Sebastian froze. She saw it immediately. "So it's true." "Arya, don't soften it. Don't try to reframe it. Just tell me what happened." He closed the door behind her slowly, like every second had weight. For a long moment he kept his gaze on the floor. "I was 22. My father had just died. They put documents in front of me, and I signed them without asking enough questions. A month later, the building burned." His jaw tightened. "I still see the smoke when I close my eyes." "And the cover-up?" Silence stretched before he spoke again. "The board paid the families. I let them. I told myself I was protecting the company. But the truth is, I was only protecting myself." He finally looked at her. His eyes were raw, unshielded, carrying a weight she wasn't prepared for. When his eyes finally met hers, raw with regret, she forgot for a moment whose side she was supposed to be on. Her throat tightened. "Do you regret it?" His voice cracked. "Every single day." She stepped back, breath shaky. "You should have told me." "I was going to." "When?" "When I stopped being afraid of losing you." Her chest clenched at the words. "Well, you're out of time." Hours later, Arya wandered through the quiet streets of the city alone. The media was still praising the mural, still talking about the new Sebastian Drake, about how he was turning over a new leaf. But all she could hear was Elliot's voice whispering, "He knows how to bury things." He had buried this. And no matter how much he claimed to have changed, he had never come clean about the fire, not until the truth was shoved into her hands. But that didn't make Elliot trustworthy either. The man had clearly been waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And now that she was in Sebastian's life, she had become his weapon. She wasn't going to be anyone's weapon. The next morning, Arya visited the Harbor Youth Shelter again. Camille was waiting at the front door, arms crossed and eyes sharp. City engineers showed up today without notice, said they were doing a routine inspection. You want to guess why? Phoenix. More than that, they're accelerating everything. Fast. Arya nodded. "I need a favor." "Name it." "I need to know who's actually running Phoenix. Not just the face, the one pushing phases behind the scenes. Someone's calling the shots, and it's not Sebastian." Camille raised an eyebrow. "You're investigating the guy you kissed last week?" "I'm trying to figure out if he's complicit or being set up." Later that day, Camille texted her a name and a photo. Vincent Hale, Chief Operating Officer. If Elliot was the ghost whispering in the dark, Vincent was the hand pulling the levers. Arya felt her stomach drop. She recognized the name. Sebastian had mentioned him once, called him one of the old guard, a man his father had trusted. She opened her laptop and ran a quick background search. And there it was. Vincent Hale, former business partner of Elliot Vance. They weren't just colleagues. They had co-founded a private firm together before Vincent joined Drake Global. The pieces started falling into place. Sebastian wasn't the only one making decisions inside Phoenix, and Elliot was never working alone. Meanwhile, in a dark office on the other side of the city, Vincent Hale set 2 glasses of scotch on a glass table. Elliot Vance was already seated, looking through photos. Aria and Sebastian on her rooftop, heads close, backs turned to the skyline. "She's getting too close," Vincent muttered. Elliot sipped his drink. "Sebastian won't lie to her again. He's too far gone." "So what now? She's starting to see through this." "Good. Let her. Let her chase shadows. Let her dig. You think she'll lead us to something?" "I think she is something. And when the time is right, we'll use her to pull the entire foundation out from under him." Vincent leaned back, a small smile curling at the edges of his mouth. "And after that?" Elliot turned his chair toward the window, watching the glowing skyline. "Then we rebuild it, without him." The gallery was closed, but Aria sat at her desk long after dark, surrounded by scattered files and a cold cup of tea. Her phone buzzed, another article about the mural, another mention of Sebastian Drake's redemption arc, another photo of her beside him. They looked perfect, too perfect. But the cracks underneath were deep. Her eyes burned as she scrolled through documents Camille had dug up, emails, meeting notes. Internal memos that referenced Vincent Hale, always in the margins, never at the center, but present, pushing timelines, approving budget reallocations, reassigning inspectors, and in more than one instance, signing off without Sebastian's name ever appearing. He was operating in the shadows, which meant Sebastian might not have known everything. But Vincent did, and maybe so did Elliot. She reached for her notebook and scribbled 3 names in a triangle: Sebastian, Vincent, Elliot. Then she drew lines between them, arrows, question marks, and in the middle, she wrote her own name, Trapped. Sebastian sat alone in his office, sleeves rolled up, eyes scanning a spreadsheet he couldn't make sense of. His thoughts weren't on numbers, they were on her. He hadn't heard from Aria in 2 days, not since she walked away after the file. He didn't blame her, he blamed himself. But the silence was driving him insane. He stood, walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, and stared out over the city like he was waiting for it to answer him. Then his phone rang. It was internal security. "Mr. Drake, we found something you should see." "About what?" "About Vincent Hale and Project Phoenix." Aria didn't sleep that night. She dug deeper. Every trail she followed led to more questions. But one thing kept repeating: a building permit filed 2 months ago under a dummy name for the lot where the youth shelter now stood. It was backdated, quietly approved, and the name attached to the holding company, Hale Vance Developments. She dropped the tablet onto her lap. Her hands were shaking. They were working together all along, and worse, they were using Phoenix as a Trojan horse. Everything Sebastian had said about rebuilding neighborhoods might have been true in his mind, but someone else was using that vision to mask something much darker. Her phone lit up again. "Sebastian," she hesitated, then answered. "Aria." His voice was softer than she expected, worn down. "I need to see you now." "Where?" "Somewhere no one will follow us." She considered that, then gave him the address of a park on the west side. Quiet, empty, safe. 15 minutes. They met under the dim glow of a street lamp near the edge of the lake. He was already there, hands buried in his pockets, face paler than usual. She didn't speak first. He did. "I know who's behind it. So do I." Their eyes met, and in that second the distance between them seemed to close, not physically but emotionally. "It's Vincent," Sebastian said. "He's been authorizing site demolitions. Repurposing budgets, silencing inspections. He kept me out of the loop, and I let him. He's not working alone." "Elliot?" She nodded. Sebastian took a shaky breath. "He used to be everything I admired, and now he's trying to tear it all down." "He's trying to use me to do it." Sebastian stepped closer. "We can stop them. But I need you with me, not just beside me, with me." She looked at him, really looked, and saw something new in his eyes. Not pride, not power, just fear and honesty. You were right, Sebastian. You can't bury this. Not anymore. Then let's burn it to the ground. Back at her apartment, they laid out everything they had. The blueprints, emails, property transfers, inspection dates, and a plan began to form. We go public, Arya said, not just about Phoenix, about everything. We expose them together. The board will retaliate. Let them. I could lose everything. So could I. They stared at each other, a long, silent understanding settling between them. This wasn't just about saving the shelter. It was about choosing what kind of people they were going to be. And then Arya reached into her drawer and pulled out the USB drive that had come with the anonymous file. I didn't show you this part. Sebastian took it carefully. Plugged it into her laptop. On the screen, archived internal communications, Westbrook Fire, 2014. He scrolled, then stopped. Wait. He clicked an email marked urgent and froze. It was from Vincent Hale, addressed to the board and to Sebastian. Except it had been recalled before he could read it. Subject line, Structural compromise, Site 9A, stop work order required. This was sent before the fire, Sebastian whispered. But you never saw it? No, I was in Dubai. This email. It was wiped from my inbox. He turned to her. They knew. They all knew. Arya leaned over the screen, reading every word. Then she saw something else, an attachment, insurance, override to protocol, PDF. She opened it, and her face drained of color. Sebastian, look at the signature. He did, and what he saw made his stomach turn, because the override approval wasn't his. It was forged. Elliot Vance. He forged your name. Sebastian's hands curled into fists. He framed me. He made me carry that guilt for 10 years, and now he's using it to finish the job. Arya looked up at him. What are we going to do? Sebastian stood, his voice low, steady, focused. We're going to show the world the truth. And Vincent? He won't see it coming. But in the darkness of an underground parking garage, Vincent Hale sat behind the wheel of a sleek black car. He scrolled through his phone and opened a message, a single photo. Arya's USB drive. Attached to a warning, they have it, and they're ready to talk. Vincent clenched his jaw and hit reply. Then it's time we act first. The stage was set. Sebastian stood at the front of a small press room inside the Drake Global headquarters. The room wasn't built for drama. Plain white walls, one logo behind the podium, no red carpet or choreographed lights. But that morning, it felt like a battleground. Dozens of reporters packed the chairs. Microphones pointed at the podium like weapons. Outside, cameras rolled. Headlines were already writing themselves. Billionaire CEO calls urgent press conference amid Phoenix controversy. Backstage, Arya paced, her thumb brushing anxiously over a flash drive inside her coat pocket. The original documents. The emails, the forged signature, everything they needed. Camille stood beside her. Are you sure about this? No, Arya admitted, but I know it's right. Camille gave a small nod. Then, whatever happens, we stand with you. Sebastian stepped back from the podium and looked at Arya. He wasn't wearing a suit, just a white shirt and rolled-up sleeves. It made him look more human, more exposed. Maybe that was the point. They're going to come after me for this, he said. Let them, Arya replied, but they won't expect you to hand them the match. He almost smiled. We do this together? Together. They stepped into the spotlight. Sebastian cleared his throat, took a breath, and began. I called this conference because it's time I stop hiding behind headlines or letting others write the story for me. He paused, looked across the crowd of flashing cameras and raised pens. Over the past year, Drake Global has been undergoing a transformation, one that I believed was rebuilding trust. But what I didn't realize, Weiss, was that the rot wasn't just at the edges. It was buried deep. He reached behind him and handed the flash drive to a staff member who plugged it into the display screen. The reporters leaned forward. Today, I'm exposing a deliberate internal scheme to misuse Project Phoenix. While the project was created with the goal of rebuilding underserved neighborhoods, members of my executive team diverted its mission for profit. They used shell companies, forged approvals, silenced complaints, and targeted shelters, schools, and community spaces for demolition. Gasps echoed in the room. Psst. He stepped aside as the screen displayed the forged signature, the forged permits, the security facility planned for the shelter's location. Then Sebastian said the name. Vincent Hale. The crowd erupted in noise. Effective immediately, he is terminated from Drake Global. Legal action will follow. Vincent Hale turned whispers into blueprints, and signatures into fires. More gasps, reporters shouting, cameras flashing, but Sebastian raised a hand. There's more. He looked at Arya, and she stepped forward. This wasn't just about corporate corruption. It was about betrayal, she said. Lives were destroyed 10 years ago in Westbrook because someone decided money mattered more than truth. That someone made sure Sebastian took the fall. She clicked to the next slide. The forged insurance override, the real signature, Elliot Vance. He manipulated the board, buried evidence, and now he's tried to use me to bring Sebastian down again, but I won't let him. Arya turned toward the cameras. Asa. Because the truth deserves daylight. The room exploded. Reporters jumped to their feet, shouting questions. Sebastian took her hand in his, a small gesture, but in front of the entire world. And in that moment, they weren't CEO and activist. They were just two people standing for something. But while the world was still watching the press conference, a black car pulled into the back alley of the Harbor Youth Shelter. A man stepped out. Not Vincent, not Elliot. Just someone hired to do a job. He approached the rear electrical box and opened it quietly. Inside, a small black device blinked. He pressed a button and walked away. 2 hours later, Arya was back at the gallery when her phone rang. Camille. She sounded breathless. You need to come. Now. It's the shelter. Smoke curled into the sky like a warning flare. Flames tore at the back wall of the youth shelter. Firefighters were already on scene, hoses blasting, sirens screaming. Kids were being rushed out the front door by volunteers. Arya's chest caved in as she ran forward, only to be caught by Camille. Everyone's safe. We got them out. But it spread fast, too fast. Then she saw him. Sebastian, breathless, smoke clinging to his clothes, eyes searching for her before anything else. Is anyone hurt? He asked. No, she said. Voice raw. But someone said this. They were trying to send a message. He turned sharply, jaw clenched. Vincent. Or Elliot. Or both. When he turned back, the firelight flickered across his face. Fury, guilt, resolve all tangled together. And only then did Arya realize she was standing closer than she meant to. Close enough to smell the smoke on him. She didn't step away. For a moment, it didn't matter that the world was burning down around them. She had chosen where to stand. Across the street, bright wings of a phoenix spread across the bricks, untouched by the fire. They want us afraid, she whispered. Sebastian's jaw tightened. Then let's give them something else. He turned to the burning shelter. Let's make them afraid of us. That night, a story broke across every major news outlet. Drake Global whistleblows its own executives, a new era or a final gambit. But buried deep in the article was a quote from an anonymous source. This isn't over. The girl doesn't know what she's walking into. He'll ruin her, just like his father ruined everyone else. Arya stared at the quote, hands tightening. She knew who said it, and she knew exactly where she needed to go next. The city skyline stretched quiet and endless beyond the rooftop. But Arya wasn't looking at it. She was staring at the man in front of her. Elliot Vance, older now, polished, but weathered. His gray coat buttoned neatly despite the August heat. "You didn't have to come alone," he said calmly. "You wanted me to," Arya replied. "That's how manipulators work. Isolate, then persuade." Elliot smiled just a little. "I'm not here to persuade you. I'm here to warn you." "About Sebastian?" "About you." He stepped closer. "You think you've won? You exposed one signature? That was nothing. Shadows go deeper than you imagine." "Not me." Elliot's smile widened. "Cold. You think you're different. That's sweet. But I knew him before the suits and headlines, before the guilt. And even then, Sebastian Drake always knew how to survive a fire." Arya met his eyes. "So do I." He laughed, dry, sharp, then pulled a worn leather wallet from his coat, sliding a faded photo into her hand. Sebastian, barely 18, standing beside him in front of the Drake Global building, both smiling, both unbroken. Arya stared at the photo, the edges frayed, Sebastian's face almost unrecognizable in its innocence. "You carry this around?" "I carry reminders," Elliot said, eyes hardening. Her grip tightened around the picture. "You know what the problem with shadows is, Elliot," she whispered. "They disappear when the light hits them." She pressed the photo back into his chest and turned away, leaving him in the dark, without another word. Back at the gallery, Camille was waiting with fresh coffee and worried eyes. "Did he try anything?" "Just words," Arya said, setting down her phone. "But I got what I needed." Sebastian arrived minutes later, still in the same black shirt from the press conference, his eyes filled with tension. "They've started deleting files," he said. "Vincent's covering tracks fast." "Then we don't give him time to finish." Arya sat at her desk and connected her phone. "I'm uploading everything to the press, the documents, the voice recordings, the real story behind Project Phoenix." "It'll destroy them," Camille said. "Good," Arya replied. "It could hurt you too," Sebastian warned. "They won't go quietly." "They already set a fire behind a children's shelter," Arya snapped. "If I stay quiet now, I'm no better than them." Sebastian stepped forward. "Then I'm with you, all the way." She looked at him, and for the first time since this started, the walls between them were gone. No more shadows, no more secrets, only choice. And they were making it together. The next morning, the story hit. Elliot Vance and Vincent Hale, the real power behind Phoenix's corruption. Screenshots, emails, voice files, the entire map of the conspiracy laid out for the world. By noon, both men were trending for all the wrong reasons. By evening, federal investigators were knocking on their doors. And by nightfall, the public had made up its mind. Sebastian Drake wasn't a villain, he was a survivor, and Arya Whitfield wasn't just a whistleblower, she was a force. 2 days later, Arya walked the burned edge of the Harbor Youth Shelter, now fenced off, still smelling faintly of ash. Volunteers were already cleaning. Donations had tripled overnight. The mural across the street remained untouched, wings still stretching across the brick, bright and defiant. Behind her, Sebastian approached quietly. "They're rebuilding," he said. "We all are." He handed her a folder, new blueprints. "I made the shelter permanent. No more 5-year reviews, it's protected now, in writing, forever." She opened the folder and froze. Her own name was listed as co-owner. "You didn't have to do this." "Yes, I did." Her eyes lifted to his. "Why?" "Because if I've learned anything, it's that real change doesn't come from grand gestures. It comes from choosing people and standing beside them, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." For a long moment she couldn't speak. The weight of it pressed against her chest, not just the shelter, not just the papers, but the fact that he had chosen her. Her smile was soft, almost disbelieving. "You really aren't the man you were 10 years ago." "I never wanted to be." "Good," she whispered, "because I wouldn't have fallen for him." Silence stretched between them, but it wasn't heavy anymore. For the first time, there were no walls, no audience, no shadows, just the quiet and the kiss that sealed it. Weeks later, the gallery reopened with a new exhibit. Rising from the ashes, it featured community art, pieces by shelter kids, and a single painted line from the mural on the gallery wall. A phoenix, its wings still glowing. The story spread across the internet again, not for drama, not for scandal, but for something deeper, hope. And at the very back of the exhibit, a small plaque read, "Some stories don't begin with love. They begin with fire. And the ones worth telling are the ones that survive the flames." The end. But now it's your turn. Have you ever trusted someone who let you down, only to watch them become someone better? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your story might be the one someone else needs to hear today. And if this story touched your heart in any way, leave a like, subscribe for more stories like this, and rate this story from 0 to 10 in the comments. I'd love to know how it made you feel. You matter. Your voice matters, and your presence here means more than you know. Thanks for watching. See you in the next story.